Hello everyone, happy Friday, welcome back to a new video. Or if you're new here, hi, welcome, I'm glad you found me and I hope you stick around for a little while. And if you like what you see, please consider subscribing. It helps my channel grow and be seen by others who might be interested in the same things. As you can see, I prepped my watercolor paper with water on the back as well as the front. That is so that once I start playing around on the front, it doesn't curl up on me. So I like to do that so that my paper stays flat throughout. And I brought out a whole bunch of Daniel Smith watercolors. I ended up not using all of them, of course, and I will list the ones that I used in the description box below the video in case you are interested. So what are we doing today? Well, I had a different idea when I started out, and I feel like I am saying the same things over and over each week, but it really is the truth. I have something in my mind and then I start putting down my colors and my thought changes, and that's exactly what happened today. Basically, I just wanted to put down some different shades of green. I put a little bit of blue in it and also some yellow because I know those three colors work really well together and will make different shades of green again. And I like to throw in a lighter color to just freshen things up a little bit. What I knew was that this was just going to be a background, that I was going to either doodle on top or do something else with it. Watercolors tend to dry lighter than when they are applied, so I knew I needed to put down enough of the pigment to make sure that I can see all of those beautiful colors, but I also needed to be careful not to make them too dark because I knew I wanted to put something on top of it, that this was just the first layer. After playing around with it a little bit, this is what I came up with. I just love those Daniel Smith granulating watercolors so much. So this is going to dry now and then we can continue. For my next layer, I am bringing in shades of purple and pink, and I specifically left this footage in so that you can see that I am using the blues and the greens that I have also used in the first layer. People much more advanced and smarter than me have taught me that in order to make a piece feel more cohesive, to mix a new color in with a color that is already existing on the paper. And that is what I did, and that is why I wanted to leave the footage where I am mixing the colors for you to see, so that you too can see what I am doing behind the scenes. And I tested it on a separate piece of paper first, and I really liked how it looked, and I liked that the purple got a little bit more muted. I didn't want bright colors on top, so by adding the greens to that purple, it mutes it a lot more, and I really liked how that color came out. Initially, I thought I was just going to doodle over the background with the white Posca pen like I have done in the past, but I really wanted to lay down the shapes first. I took a photo of the background and imported it into Procreate, and I started drawing flowers and leaf shapes over the background, and I really liked how that looked, but I decided that I wanted to put the darker colors down first and then doodle over it. Because of that, I wasn't too precise of how I painted those flower petals and later the leaf shapes, because I knew they were going to get outlined and this was just the background for them. I would not be telling you the truth if I told you that I loved what I was doing here. It went through a very rough stage, and a couple of times I came close to giving up and just chucking it and starting fresh. But I decided to stick with it and just see it through, and I'm so glad I did. Some paintings go through a very ugly stage, and that is most of the time, I think, when I, and I'm sure other painters as well, will give up and just start fresh. And there's nothing wrong with that, but there is also something very satisfying when you just keep going to see where it ends up. I did not think that the end piece would look the way it came out, and I'm really proud of myself for sticking with it and just keep painting. I kept referring back to my sketch that I did on my iPad. It was a very rough sketch, but I just kind of wanted to see where I wanted to place everything to make sure that it looks okay. I have been doing this lately, and it just gives me a little bit of a security, especially when I'm unsure of what I want to do. You see me go over some of those shapes and just refining it a little bit, or giving it a little bit of a shading, or basically just fixing some lines that I didn't like beforehand. But I knew, because it was going to get covered up with a white pen, that it didn't need to be perfect. I think it was about at this stage where I almost gave up. I just felt like it looked very much like a kindergartner painted this, even though that was my plan all along. But then seeing it unfold on the paper just kind of discouraged me a little bit. I did love, however, the shades of the second layer that I put down. I think mixing in the greens and the blues from the first layer really worked well. I think I walked away from it for a little while just because my frustration was taking over, and I knew I had to see it through. I knew there was some potential, and I just was too frustrated to continue. And so I put it aside, and then I came back. I decided to continue. And once I started working on these little pods here, I all of a sudden started liking it a lot more. I don't know why. I just really liked these pods and how they came out. And so I just decided, all right, you just have to keep going, and I know you can do this. And like I said, I'm glad I pushed myself, and I'm glad I persevered. I have been waiting to use the Potter's Pink, and by itself it looks very dirty. I am sure at some point I will be able to use it by itself and really make that color stand on its own, but it also feels a lot different. It almost feels like it is mucusy. That's the best way I can describe it. So I decided to put in a different pink with it, and that second pink is generally very bright and very in your face. I have worked with it previously, but together with the Potter's Pink, it turned into this beautifully muted pink, and I really liked how these two worked together. I am borrowing some of these shapes from a previous painting that I did not too long ago, and I am curious if you can figure out which video I am talking about. I tend to forget when I try out different shapes that I like them, and so bringing them back so soon after I have done them helps me remember. And so I am really glad that I did remember, because they work really well in this painting. I knew that most of the background I wanted in color, but I also wanted some of the elements that I am bringing in to be just in white. I had done my sketch on Procreate with just white, and I didn't fill in the flowers and the leaf shapes with the color that I have on the paper. I was so focused on drawing those elements in color that I almost forgot that I wanted some of them just stay white. And I think that's what happens sometimes with my ADHD brain. When I get really hyper focused on something, I tend to forget that I had a different plan, and sometimes that's a good thing, and other times it can be very frustrating. But I think because I am also outlining the shapes that I've painted in white, just having a couple of those white only elements in the painting worked out okay. If you have watched any of my most recent videos where I started trying out the Posca pens a little bit more, you may remember me complaining about how I had to go over those lines 2, 3, sometimes 4 times in order for them to really stand out. Well, in this painting, I was actually kind of glad that that white pen wasn't super visible. In a way, it is almost nice that you have the option of the pen not being so vibrant, because if you're working on something like this, you might not want a bright white line. So I might have to retract my previous frustrations and realize that there is always another use for a less vibrant white line. So in this painting, I only went over the lines once, and maybe you can see the difference. Although in the other painting that I did, the colors were completely different, much less muted, a lot more vibrant, and you might not see the difference in the video. I think if you work over acrylic paint with the Posca pen, you won't have that issue. But if you work over watercolor paint and on watercolor paper, because the watercolor paper is a lot more absorbent than canvas, you might run into those same problems. And so maybe me telling you that there is a time for very vibrant white lines, and then there's also a time for more muted white lines, might help you as well. I am also bringing in some colored pencils just to give a little bit more shading and a little bit of a different interest into the painting. And then we're almost done with this one. I hope you enjoyed today's painting. I am so glad you clicked on my video, and I hope that what I have been trying to explain is resonating, or that you will take something away from it today. I appreciate you taking some time out of your busy day to sit down and watch my video. And if you liked it, consider liking it. You can share it, you can save it, and all that helps my channel grow so that I can continue making these videos for you. Have a wonderful weekend and stay creative wherever you are in the world. I will see you next Friday.